Okay, and then, oh, by the way, there's this.
By the way,
Tom Brady, the greatest player that ever played the game of football. He won 193 more games than he lost. That number is more than the fourth all-time winningest quarterback total. He also threw for more touchdowns and passed for more yards than any player ever. He went to 10 Super Bowls. He won 7. That's more than any franchise has. He also has 35 career wins in the playoffs, the same number of postseason wins as the Dallas Cowboys in their history, and he got better with age. He threw more touchdowns and more yards in his 40s than his 20s. He threw 168 touchdowns after turning 40. That's just slightly less than Joe Namath threw in his career, and he's in the Hall of Fame. So, look, you don't need me to tell you, Tom Brady was pretty good. So we got the collection here. And Teddy, we are so delighted you were able to come in this morning. You told an unbelievable story yesterday about Tom helping coach your son Dante on FaceTime.
In his pajamas.
In his pajamas, teaching him how to be a quarterback. What else, when you think about Brady, what else jumps immediately to mind?
I always think of the first championship, and I think it's special when you're on an organization that has never done anything before, and the fan base sort of looks at you like you're second fiddle to the Red Sox or the Celtics, similar to what the Bengals are going through right now. No one thinks they're going to do it. It could be their first, but this 0-1 drive that really broke us through. J.R. Redmond on a couple checkdowns, Troy Brown over the middle on a deep over, and then Jermaine Wiggins, the little out route to just get us in the field goal range, and the way he spiked the ball, Green. Okay, now that was a moment for me because we saw the whole thing happen, but he spikes the ball, and the ball sort of floats up in the air like this, and he puts his left hand out, and it just sort of settles in his left hand. And he poses right there like, I told all of you. I told you, here we are, go finish it, Vinatieri. And it's like, man, we're on to something here. It's like, did he just do that and pose? So that moment right there was like, wow, breaking through and winning our first is something I'll never forget.
It's 20 years ago, almost this week. It was the year the Super Bowl got pushed into February at a time when they didn't used to, but because of September 11th, everything got pushed back a little bit. So it's a couple of weeks away from being 20 years ago exactly. Did you have any idea? Like, here's this kid, he comes in, Bledsoe gets hurt. Did you have any idea that he was, forget about this, because no one ever turned into this, but just that he was going to genuinely be an all-time great quarterback?
Absolutely not. Not until like the second or third year even. I mean, he was responsible for 2 touchdowns in that playoff run. Mm-hmm. He scrambled for one in the snow versus the Raiders, and he threw a touchdown to Patton in the Super Bowl. All right, we scored twice on special teams. Bledsoe comes in when he gets hurt and throws to Patton in the corner in the AFC Championship because Tom got hurt, and then we score, and then Ty Law scores in the Super Bowl. So it was like, way not to mess it up, Tom. Good job. We won the championship. But then it goes from that to all the way that Carolina Panthers Super Bowl, and it's like, we can't stop them anymore. We're gassed defensively. And Brady takes them down the field over and over again, all the way to 2007, him throwing 50 touchdown passes. We don't get that one done. But the roles of him being a complimentary piece and a contributor to being the main piece and the main reason why you get to a Super Bowl and have all that success, I was so, just fortunate to watch it all and experience it all with him.
Rex, how fortunate were you to be in his division all those years?
Another perspective?
Yeah, a way different perspective. But thanks, Grady, for the memories. But really, what I saw was the greatest competitor and might have been the toughest football player I had ever coached against. And you're right, I had 8 years of just getting my butt kicked by this guy. And I know it's a long list. All right. It just seemed like Brady, though, enjoyed kicking my butt so much better than he did anybody else's. It felt like that to me.
He did that because he respected you. Right?
Yeah, but that's what I mean. He knew I'd put every day. One day we beat his butt, and to sit back, and it's funny, but I'll tell my grandkids about it. Yeah, I beat him. Best of all time. I got him once.
In a playoff game 10 years ago. It unfortunately is the last playoff game to date. The New York Jets have won as a football team, but it was in Foxborough. And then you went on and played Ryan Clark's Pittsburgh Steelers the next weekend in the AFC Championship game.
Got smoked by RC.
Well, it was actually a closer game than people remember, but that's neither here nor there.
Close.
RC, you played against Brady in big games. I mean, so many of them, the Patriots and the Steelers played all those years. What stands out to you?
Yeah. That he absolutely owned us. That I played for one of the greatest coaches of all time, and Coach Dick LeBeau, I think the greatest defensive mind the NFL has ever seen. And we dominated folks. I mean, we smashed folks. We dominated them physically. We dominated them mentally, emotionally. And that when we played Tom Brady, there was nothing that we could do with him. And it didn't really matter who he was throwing to, who was playing running back. Tom Brady was just better. He always found ways to exploit your defense. He always understood what you were going to do to attack him more than he even understood what his game plan was. And he made those adjustments. Tom Brady, to me, is not only the greatest player to ever play this football game, but he's the game's greatest competitor. He's the game's greatest learner. He's the game's greatest achiever. And you always knew, as long as Tom Brady was a part of the AFC, that the championships went through him. And I think to be that guy and to hold that throne and to kind of be the gatekeeper to rings is a very unique place to be. This dude's had like 5 careers, and Teddy kind of mentioned that. He was a complimentary piece, and then he was a star that won Super Bowls. He was a star who was great offensively and productive and lost Super Bowls, and then he comes back and he wins them again as an older player at MVPs, and then he goes to Tampa. Tom Brady has invented and reinvented himself more than any player in any sport in the history of the major sports in the country of America, and he will be remembered to me as the greatest living American, as John Anderson likes to call him.
Really well said. Danny, just through a quarterback's eyes, I mean, as you, what?
Yeah, I think my favorite attribute about Brady is he understood as a person, as an athlete, but even more so as a quarterback, you're only good as your biggest weakness. You're only as good as your biggest weakness. And he seemed to constantly work to make his weaknesses strength. Weaknesses strengths. Weaknesses, he's too slow. He's not athletic enough. He's not quick-footed enough. His arm isn't strong enough. And you saw the 2 decades of work to make those weaknesses become strengths, or perceived weaknesses become strengths. I had a coach of mine in college named Rob Ambrose, who's the head coach at Towson right now. When I was a young player, Tom was the best quarterback in football. And he was kind of sharing the story with Tom, and he asked me, who are you competing against? And I said, I don't know, these other quarterbacks in the country. And he said, no, you got to go chase the ghost. And you can never outwork the ghost. And it seems like that's what Tom embodied, was he was always going to chase the ghost, and understanding that he was never going to outwork something he could never attain.
We'll set aside more time for this, but give me a quick final thought.
And just what people don't understand is the leader that he was, and how he knew over the course of his career that I can't win championships without you. So making those teammates feel like, man, there's such a relationship and a bond, that's how we could do it in New England. Then absolutely go do it in Tampa Bay, because making his teams know that I can't do it without you, come on with me and I'll help you, even if I've got to help your son learn to play quarterback in his underwear.
That is the ring from that game 20 years ago, right? The one you're wearing today?
It is. That's the first one here.
That's the first. It's got to be nice when people say, which ring is that?
Good point.
Because there are options. All right, we'll set aside more time for Brady conversation as we go.
Get to like, subscribe, and share all of our channels. Check us out. Hey, tell us what you think about it. Are we hitting it on the nail on the head, or are we not? Please leave a comment. Let us know. Tell us how the flow is. But don't forget, this is your boy MC D-Rex, and I'm out. Peace.